Today we're diving into a financial story that is so wild it's almost hard to believe it's real. It's a shocking cautionary tale out of Singapore, all about the insane dangers that can be hiding in the fine print of a loan and how fast a debt can spiral completely out of control.
So let's set the scene. It's 2010. A man needs some cash, and he takes out a loan from a licensed moneylender. The amount? Roughly 1.75 crore rupees. Now that's a lot of money for sure, but you'd think it's something that could be managed, right?
Well, fast forward just over a decade to 2021. That same loan had ballooned into a mind-boggling debt of around 147 crore rupees. I'm going to say that again, 147 crore. That's not a mistake. The debt literally grew by more than 80 times the original amount.
And that is the $1 million, or I guess the 147 crore rupee question, isn't it? How in the world does something like this happen? Is it even legal? And what happened to the poor guy at the center of all this? Well, the answer, as it so often does, lies buried in the details.
Okay, so let's get into the mechanics of this financial quicksand. It really all boils down to the terms of the loan itself. Terms that, when you look closer, seem almost designed to be a trap from the very beginning.
So here's the anatomy of this disaster. You've got three things working together to create a perfect storm. First, the interest rate wasn't annual, it was 4% per month. Now, if a payment was late, that interest rate doubled to 8% for that month. And then, on top of all that, they'd slap on a flat late fee of 2,500 Singapore dollars, that's over 1.5 lakh rupees, for every single month a payment was missed. Just to put that 4% a month into perspective for you, that works out to an annual interest rate of 48%. And remember, that's the best case scenario. That's before any of those brutal late fees or that doubled interest rate even kick in. I mean, most normal loans have annual rates you can count on your fingers. This was something else entirely.
And this timeline just shows you the horrifying result of those turns. Within just 4 years, by 2014, the debt had already skyrocketed past 20 crore rupees. And by 2021, after years and years of that compounding interest and all those penalties just piling on top of each other, it hit that unbelievable figure of 147 crore. It's just terrifying to watch.
But you know, this wasn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. This debt had a devastating, real-world impact. Behind all these insane figures was a family and a personal tragedy that cost them literally everything they had.
By July 2016, the man was completely drowning. To try and stay afloat, he was forced to sell his family home. And guess who he sold it to? The director of the very same money lending company he was in debt to. He got about 14 crore for it, a desperate move just to keep a roof over his family's head.
But selling his home wasn't the end of the story. Oh no. In fact, it led to a situation that is just so twisted, so cruel, it's hard to even wrap your head around. You see, as part of the deal, he had to sign a tenancy agreement, so he went from being the owner of his home to being a tenant in the exact same house. Can you imagine? He was now forced to pay between 5 and 6 lakh rupees every single month in rent to the guy he already owed millions to. All while that original debt just kept climbing in the background. He lost his biggest asset, but the trap only got tighter.
So this completely bizarre situation eventually led to a fight over unpaid rent. And that's how this whole unbelievable story finally made its way into Singapore's High Court. And that's when a legal spotlight was finally shown on these shocking deals.
When the case got to the High Court, the judge's reaction was, well, it was powerful. He said, and this is a direct quote, that the scale of the debt shocked the conscience. That's not just legal jargon. That's a human, moral reaction. He was basically saying that something was deeply, fundamentally wrong here.
The whole court case really centered on this one key idea: usurious lending. It's a legal term for when someone lends money at interest rates that are so unreasonably high, they're considered unethical or even illegal. The court's job was to figure out if this loan had crossed that line. Now, the borrower, he fought back with some really serious allegations. He claimed that the whole rental agreement was just a sham, a way to disguise the loan. He accused the moneylender of deception, of fraud, of breaking the law. And honestly, given the shocking numbers, the court agreed that this whole thing needed a much, much closer look and ordered a full retrial. So after all that, what can we all take away from this incredible story? I mean, it's an extreme example for sure, but it's such a powerful lesson about how important financial literacy is and the kinds of dangers that can be hiding in plain sight in a loan agreement. When you break it down, you can see this fatal pattern.
It all starts with a high-interest loan. Then these punishing fees kick in for any late payment. Next thing you know, compounding interest takes over and the debt just explodes. And finally, even when a massive asset like a house is taken, it's often just a drop in the bucket. It's not even enough to clear the debt.
And that's the crucial point here. This whole case is a huge, flashing red light. A small-sounding monthly interest rate can be hiding a crippling annual one. The real poison is almost always in those penalty clauses for being late. It just goes to show how critical it is to read, understand, and question every single line of a document before you even think about signing.
Ultimately, a story like this forces us to ask a much bigger question, doesn't it? I mean, we all rely on loans for big things in life: homes, businesses, education. But this shows that there's a line where a financial tool that's meant to help you becomes a trap that's designed to break you. Where is that line? It's definitely something worth thinking about.